What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 best lifts that you guys can do to increase your arm strength. Let's get started. But before we get into this video, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 10 different states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So check out that very first link in the description below. If you guys are local to the Washington, D.C. area, if you guys are local to St. Louis, Missouri, Honolulu, Hawaii, Boston, Massachusetts, Cleveland, Ohio, Austin, Texas, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, Colorado, Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. We are coming out to all of those states again for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So if you guys want to get some work in with myself and my staff of coaches, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you there. Let's get back to this video. All right, guys, before we get into the different exercises that I want to discuss with you, we're going to talk about how quarterbacks can generate power mechanically, and then we're going to tie that into the different gym exercises that you should be doing. So where does a quarterback's power come from? Their power comes from their legs, their hips, and their core. A lot of people think that it comes from their shoulders, their arms, their upper body. We got to be big with my upper half. That is not the case. Your power comes from your legs, your hips, and your core. So mechanically, how does that work? So when you go to throw, let's start with the legs, because throwing mechanics, your throwing motion starts from the ground up. When you throw, power comes from your back leg. You want to be able to take this weight that you have on your back leg, you want to be able to transfer it to your front leg, because when you have that weight transfer, that's when the hips and that's when the core can rotate through and give you that rotational power. Now, when you go to throw, you have to be able to generate something called torque, and that comes from hip and shoulder dissociation. Hip and shoulder dissociation is a fancy word for you're trying to separate your upper half, so your shoulders, from your lower half. Similar to how a baseball player hits a baseball, they don't take a step with their front foot and open up with their shoulders at the same time, right? They stay back with the bat and they pivot through, having the hips bring the bat through. It is the same way quarterbacks generate power. Now, for us to be able to separate my upper half, we need to get to a good base where your back foot is underneath your armpit, and that allows you to sit back and have your weight back. So when your weight is back, it's easy to rotate your shoulders. When your weight is forward or your weight is even, sometimes it's hard for quarterbacks to rotate their shoulders back, which doesn't get them to dissociation, and that's not how we generate torque and power to help me snap through. So it all starts with your legs. If your back foot is super wide, knee is caved in, you don't have strength in your back leg, that throws off your mechanics. You physically can't rotate at your hips or your core, and you can't get your shoulders back. So therefore, you throw all arm, and that's when your arm strength will decrease. So all of these exercises we're going to cover today will build on that. It's going to build on your leg strength, it's going to build on your core strength, and your upper body mobility. So number one, first exercise, best exercise QBs can do is back squats. So what you need, barbell, and again, if you don't have a barbell, you could definitely do this holding 2 dumbbells at your side, okay? Don't make excuses. There's always a way to do it. Or you could do it body weight if you don't have dumbbells. So you're going to be here. Barbell's probably what I recommend the most, but we put this bar on my back, and when we do squats, your feet should say I would be maybe not shoulder width apart, but just underneath your armpits, I would say. And when you squat down, we have to emphasize my knees not caving in. We squat down, we press my knees out, I sit into this, I'm trying to keep my chest up, and I go up. Now, do I recommend quarterbacks to go below parallel? Probably not. I would recommend just right at parallel. And you focus on not letting your knees cave in, pressing your knees outward. Because when you guys land at the top of the drop, if we don't have strong legs, and let's say I drop back and my knee caves in, I don't have a strong glutes, I don't have strong hamstring, I don't have strong legs, because maybe I haven't done back squats, and your knee caves in, your weight is forward. We physically can't get my weight back, but if you guys land at the top of the drop and we could sit, very similar to a squat, keep my knees straight, what does that allow me to do? That allows me to get my hips through and get my weight back and my shoulders to go back. So fellas, barbell back squats, one of the best exercises QBs can do for arm strength. Now let's get into some more. All right, guys, so the next exercise that I want to talk about is an exercise specifically to build on that back leg. So we're going to give you 2 more leg exercises that you can do, and then we're going to show you guys some core exercises that are going to help with that rotational force that ties into the second part of being able to generate torque on the ball, which helps with arm strength. But this is going to solely work on your back leg and your base to get you into a good throwing position. So when you guys drop back, you almost want to think of it when you land on a drop like you're balancing on one foot. Your back foot gets underneath your frame. You are keeping this knee straight so I can transfer my weight, get my hips to rotate through, and separate my upper half. When your weight is off at the top of the drop and you drop back, your weight's forward, you cannot rotate like we said previously. So this exercise can help with that. So you could put a bench behind this as well to make it a little bit more easier, I guess you could say, if your legs aren't as strong yet. But what you're going to do is you're going to stand in the middle of a weighted plate. You could do this on like a cinder block, anything that's elevated. But what you're going to do is you're going to do a pistol squat. So you're going to put one foot on, one foot off, and it's essentially a single leg squat. So when you go down, this is a very easy exercise that lets your knee cave inward, which is what we don't want, and we don't want to build that habit, because when you guys get to the top of the drop and your back knee caves, my weight's forward and I can't drive. So what we're focused on doing, pressing the knee outward, and we are going to squat down to parallel. Focus on not letting the knee cave, and then we're going to pop all the way back up. Obviously, you can go a little bit lower than that, or you could set up a bench behind and squat to the bench if you're a beginner. But fellas, that is one of the best exercises that works on that back leg, which will help you transfer weight and have proper mechanics, but also the strength to get proper mechanics. All right, guys, so this next exercise is going to be called a split squat, and it is going to work on essentially the same thing, getting to your back leg underneath your frame and keeping that shin straight, developing that strength in that plant leg so we could drive, transfer my weight, and get my hips involved with the throw. So what you're going to do is you're going to be here. You have to do this on both legs. You're not just going to do this on your throwing leg. You're going to put your foot out, put your back leg up on the bench, and you can do this holding dumbbells. You can do this with a barbell on your back, or you can do it body weight, right? Whatever level you have, whatever access to gym equipment you have to make the most of it. So what we're going to do is all you're going to do is just simply do a squat down, focus on not letting the knee go past my toe, focus on keeping my shin straight, not letting it cave inward, and just popping straight back up. And that is going to build strength in that position that we need strength in at the top of the drop to be able to transfer, get my hips to rotate through, and allow my upper body to rotate. Fellas, arm strength is all about mechanics and doing exercises that are going to actually build on that mechanical sequence, and that is one of the best exercises that you guys can do. We call it a split squat, dumbbells, barbell, body weight, whatever it is, but that's going to help you guys get more arm strength. All right, guys, so now you have probably heard me or somebody else that you maybe trust, a quarterback coach, whoever, talk about quarterbacks doing upper body exercises and why it's bad to do bench press, heavy overhead press, and pretty much anything that's heavy up top. Now, why is that bad? Why should quarterbacks avoid that, right? And we're going to give you some body weight exercise, or not some body weight exercise, but some upper body exercises that you guys can do to still build up your upper body, to still stay strong without putting pressure on your arm in a second. But I wanted to address this. Fellas, we should not be trying to get bulked up as a quarterback. Look at any NFL quarterback. And honestly, I know he's an NFL player and he first pick in the draft, whatever. But if you look at Cam Newton's throwing mechanics when he first got into the league, compared to some of the throwing mechanics you see some of the top guys have today, they're horrendous. Throwing mechanically, he's a great athlete, great competitor, got him to a Super Bowl, won an MVP, and all of that is insanely hard to do. And it's very, very hard to play quarterback in college, and it's very, very hard, extremely hard to play quarterback in the NFL. But when you look at his throwing mechanics, there's so many inefficiencies, and you look at his body type. He's bulked up, he's got a big chest, big shoulders, and he has no range of motion. And that is going to throw off your mechanical sequence. That is not going to allow us to get to that dissociation position. So being able to have a mobile upper half, but still have functional strength in your upper half is what you should shoot for as a quarterback. There's a reason why Tom Brady doesn't do bench press. There's a reason why all those guys, Aaron Rodgers, another guy who has great throwing mechanics, is not super bulked up with their upper half. They're strong, they're developed somewhat, they're not fat, but they don't do that kind of stuff because they don't want to limit their range of motion, right? Because when you're bulked up, you don't have the same range of motion as a guy who's loose, is mobile, and he's generating power from his hips, his core, and his legs, okay? So now, a great exercise that you can do is something called a plyo push-up. Now, if you can do a clapping push-up, great. Another exercise you could do is a banded push-up, and we'll talk about that. But a plyo push-up is just simply where you're doing a push-up. You go down, we go down to the push-up position, and we explode up. So that works on that fast twitch that everybody needs when they throw, because throwing is not a slow twitch exercise. It's a fast twitch exercise where we're trying to generate almost a whip with my arm. So you still get that fast twitch element to the exercise, but you also don't bulk up and put on a ton of size and lose range of motion with the upper half. And not to mention, you're at a higher risk of injury when you're doing heavy bench press or heavy shoulder press. That's a high risk of injury with your shoulder. So again, I get it. Some of you might be in a high school program where you have to do bench press. Don't lift with your ego. Don't be that guy who's trying to put on a ton of weight to try to keep up with linebackers, running backs, whoever. Just lift. If you can get away with doing dumbbell bench press, that's always better. And light. Keep it light, fellas. Please do not be that guy that's super bulked up, loses range of motion because of improper lifting. There are other things that you can do. Banded push-ups, regular push-ups, plyo push-ups, clapping push-ups. All of those can still build up your chest, still make you stronger, but still maintain mobility. All right, guys, so like we said, throwing is a very fast twitch exercise, right? You guys are trying to generate as much explosion as possible with that lower half to coil into the upper half to create a whip when you throw the ball. So in terms of your core, what are some exercises that you can do to be able to increase that rotational force? And this is going to be a great one to do that. So you need a medicine ball. I would say this exercise you probably can only do with a medicine ball. I don't think there is really an alternative for doing this at home. Maybe if you have like a heavy kind of ball, I guess you could throw, but it's going to be working on that explosive rotation with your hips and with your core. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold this medicine ball. You need a wall. You need a partner, somebody to throw this ball at. So you're going to start with your front foot slightly open. Weight is going to be back. All you're going to do is rotate with the shoulders while keeping a grounded front foot, and you are going to pivot with your back foot and shoot through with your hips. So you're going to be here, and we just pivot through and throw this thing and explode with that upper half through. All that's going to do, and you're trying to throw this as hard as you can. I don't have a partner in here to throw to, and I don't want to knock over the camera. So fellas, that's going to work on that explosive rotational force, activate those fast twitch fibers, which is what we need in a throwing motion, and it's obviously going to get your core stronger. As a quarterback, you don't need jacked 8-pack, 6-pack. You don't need that. Certainly can help because that means you're strong here, but we need to build strength and explosion, especially from those hips and especially from my core. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions on any of the exercises we covered in this video, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. And again, fellas, if you're a QB and you would like to train with us this offseason, we are coming out to 10 different states across the U.S. So check out that very first link in the description below if you want some more information on that. I'll see you guys next time.